Okay, right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. And I've got a very special show today. I'm joined by none other than Mr. Joey Vera of Armored Saint and Fate's Warning. So, Joey, how are you? Thanks for coming
Hello there.
on.
I'm good. How are you doing?
Oh, fine and dandy.
Good.
It's my first day off, actually. I've just finished 13 shifts on the trot, so I'm a little fried, but
Okay. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
thanks for coming on. So, yeah, we were just talking about how things are a little bit starting to take baby steps into coming into a bit of normality with touring and shows, but still there's a little bit of uncertainty in the air. So it's one step at a time.
Yeah.
But you're concentrating at the moment of doing promotional work and of this excellent new live album that's about to come out.
Yes.
Symbol of Salvation, done in full. Yeah, let's talk about it. And where did the idea first come up to do the album in full?
Well, we were still touring on the cycle for Wind Hands Down, um, and this was sometime around 2018. We had an opportunity to go out and do some more shows, and rather than just doing the same old thing. We had already done some dates in the U.S. As headliners and with other bands. We did some dates with Metal Church and Queensryche and a bunch of stuff. And so we kind of knew that this anniversary was coming up in a couple years, which is where we are now, for Symbol of Salvation. It was turning 30, and so having having seen that ahead in the future, we decided, wouldn't it be cool to go out and do Symbol of Salvation in its entirety, just kind of for fun, really. And then once we decided that would be something interesting to do, the record label came to us and said, since you're going out and doing this, let's document it and put the possibility of, doing something as a live DVD or a live record. So we that's that's kind of how the idea came about to record this and to do it. And it was a lot of fun doing it. We were able to perform a bunch of these songs live that we've never been able to play live, or never chose to play live, really. So it was a real treat for fans to hear some of these deep cuts. It was fun for us to relearn this stuff, and it ended up being a really, really cool thing. We did like about 2 weeks in the U.S. and then we did a couple weeks in Europe. So this DVD and this live record is taken from one of the shows. We didn't have the finances to record every single show, but we recorded one show in New York City, and that's what this is from.
Yeah, sure. That was one thing I was going to ask. Actually, I didn't know if you was going to record a bunch of shows and sort of sit and mull through it and pick, or was it just the one? Was that
Yeah.
like,
Well, we did.
no pressure, but you got to nail it.
Yeah. We essentially we did record the audio from several shows, um, including a show in Germany. But as far as the video goes, we could only afford to really capture one of the dates with a multi-camera crew.
Yeah.
So that was New York City. But we did shoot a single camera from several other shows. But so we did end up taking bits and pieces from the other shows of the video, just to help help the narrative of what the visual to be more interesting. There's some cutaway stuff and some kind of more artsy stuff that was taken from other shows, but the audio is all taken from one show. We just chose the show in New York. Obviously, it was the show with all the camera crew there, and so that's what you hear is that one show from New York.
Yeah. So far, I've managed to listen to the audio. I've not watched the visual yet. I've pre-ordered the DVD and CD package, but from just listening to the audio, it's a fantastic recording and a fantastic performance. It really does. It just
Cool.
it just gives the songs just a new sort of modern kick up the arse, I guess. I like there's some little jammy sections are sort of interjected in with the solo sections, and particularly as well there's little interludes between the songs as well, in particular the little intro piece before Last Train Home. And yeah, I've got the distinction level edition of the album now with the demo recordings and the interview, and I can honestly say anyone who is a fan of this album, this is the perfect companion piece to round off the collection.
Great. Yeah, it was fun to do too. Like I said, playing the whole record in its entirety was, it was interesting and challenging for us. So it was it was motivating in that way, rather than just, figuring out another set of older songs. We just decided to take all of the songs from Symbol, and it was really, really fun. And it was really cool to see the reactions of people hearing these songs for the first time. A lot of them.
I think that's the great thing about revisiting an album and doing an album in full and live, is you will get those, sometimes 4, 5, 6 tracks where you've just never managed to play them live before. So it's great to sort of test them, and there's always ones that you probably would have wanted to play, but just it's getting it into the set list. And well, if we play that, we're going to have to drop that, and if we don't play that song, they're probably never going to let us out the venue, and you've got to find that balance, haven't you?
Yeah, it was funny because like some songs, like, I don't know, like Burning Question, for instance, as an example, we'd never even played that song ever in our whole career. And it was a little bit like, we, after performing it a few times on stage and during this tour in 2018, was like, why haven't we ever played this before? This song's really fun and people love it. And why didn't we ever play this? So it's one of those weird things,
I think as well, this was the first time. Obviously, you probably would have played your first album in full 100 times before putting the album out. But I think this was, in particular, a special album to mark the occasion and play live in full, because of it's just got such a wonderful backstory to it, hasn't it? The tribute to David Pritchard, and you were kind of at a crossroads at the time where you kind of knew that it probably was going to be your last album at the time, at least. And it was going out with a bang, but whilst paying tribute as well. And everything just kind of comes together in this story of making this album. Obviously, Brian Slagle steps in and says, "Look, I'm going to fund it." And
there was certainly a pretty important time in our lives. On a lot of levels, it was that period means a lot to us. A lot of it was difficult, but a lot of it was also very sort of gratifying, getting hurdles, as it were, and that kind of stuff. So, that period we always viewed that little period of time in our career as kind of an important moment, when we kind of pulled up our bootstraps and got through that hard patch and made this record. We're always really proud of it. It was well received by fans and critics. So, and then ironically, that was the last record we made before John left to join Anthrax. And so the band was dormant for a good 12 years after that. So, that just set up where we were going to end up being in the future. Little did we know at that time, but so in hindsight, it was a very important period for us. This is another way for us to sort of recognize that and to celebrate that period too.
I think as well, when you look through Armored Saint's career, the sort of story of the band, it is if they ever did the dirt on Armored Saint, it is a tale of a friendship that stands the test of time, isn't it? You've always, when Armored Saint did split, obviously John joining Anthrax was a big thing, but then you've all gone on to do different projects, but yet you always managed to find each other and do something as well. You did Revelation, and then eventually La Raza, and then now coming back to being a full-time band, it's always, you always, you know, kept in touch and always found a way around things. And yeah, you've, that friendship has always persevered, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's probably the thing that has always kept us together, you know, or kept us sane. Um, the fact that we've known each other, the three of us, John and Gonzo and myself, have known each other since grade school. So our history goes way back to when we were like 7 years old, you know. So, um, you know, we didn't form a band until we were in high school, but we were tight friends in junior high schools, you know, from grade 7 on, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, even someone like, you know, Phil Sandoval's Gonzo's older brother, but he was still, you know, we still within our group of friends, and was only a year or two older than us. And Jeff Duncan, we met very early on in the early 80s when he was playing in Odin. So we've all had this friendship that's goes way, way, way long time ago. So that's always, if anything, you know, when things get tough or things get weird, that friendship is always going to help us get through all those parts, you know, all those tough times, you know. We can kind of, you know, at least rely on that much of it, you know.
So with this, the download edition of this live album comes with a 1989 demo recording. Where did that get unearthed from, and what made you choose to include it?
Those were originally part of the, you know, the anniversary issue that we put out with Metal Blade years ago that I think you just mentioned. So um, these demo tapes were part of that writing session that we were going through with Dave that led up to Symbol of Salvation. So we, at the time we got dropped from Chrysalis in 1988, we wrote with Dave for a couple years, and we were writing during that time for our next record, which we didn't know where or how that was going to be, but we were writing for that record, which ended up being Symbol. So, you know, Symbol has 12 or 13 songs on it. So we had written about 22 songs. So there was a slew of songs that didn't make the record. So basically, these 5 tracks are from that period of time, and they feature Dave on guitar.
Yeah,
he recorded them because he was the guy who had the 4-track, and he recorded all of us in rehearsals, and that's what these demos are from. So these songs have never been released on LP, and so we thought it would be a cool addition to add this to the LP version of this live recording. So that's what appears on side 4, I believe, of the LP. And it's from that period. So we kind of felt like it had an association with it. It was part of the big story, you know. And for the fans who don't have it on vinyl, you know, now it's available on vinyl. So it's a cool thing, I think.
so I was right. It is the companion to the 3D. It's the extra disc to this.
Exactly. Definitely a bookend for that. And like I said, the digital versions of those have been available on CD before, but they've never been on vinyl. So
No, vinyl, yeah.
decided to do that.
Whilst revisiting an album and playing it in full, it's becoming quite a common thing for bands to do. It was kind of over the last few years, it's become more common. And I've spoke to a couple of different bands. Notably, I spoke to Nige Rocket, say that again, from Onslaught, who they did a tour playing their album from the 80s, The False. And about, I remember seeing an interview with the band Mayhem where they did their breakthrough album in full, Descent. I can never pronounce it right, but and they were saying about how it influenced the writing of the new album, and it was more, you know, there's no way that could not rub off on you playing these songs you know, sometimes 100 times over 100 times in a row on a
Yeah.
tour. And then when it comes to write, but they said also it took into part whilst we were writing these new songs, how we would play it live also. Because so although it influenced that, it also influenced it the other way. And I
Yeah.
was wondering, do you think this will have an influence on new Armored Saint material?
Well, it actually did. I mean, because we did this in 18, and then we began writing we just began writing songs, began writing music, which ultimately ended up being our new record, Punch in the Sky.
Oh, so this was recorded before Punch in the Sky was.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Right. I thought it was after the fact.
Yeah.
We've got Punch in the Sky. Ooh.
Well, that did, it is funny because, some of that, I wouldn't say that, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that musically it was influenced, but I think it was a big inspiration of, like, as I mentioned before, playing songs like Burning Question, um, and sort of seeing the response to the fans and how they received these sort of deep cuts. And the songs on Symbol are relatively shorter than we've been writing in the past. Most recently, with particular with Wind's Hands Down, for instance, those songs on Wind are a little bit on the longer side. And so conscious for me, when I was doing the writing, I was thinking in the back of my mind, keep it short and sweet, get to the point, when writing material. And I think those things were probably influenced by playing Symbol of Salvation in its entirety. And I think in that way, it was it kind of gave me a fresh look at something we'd done in the past. It's not to say that I, necessarily look to, recreate something that we've already done once. I'm not really interested in doing that. I'm always trying to find a new way to showcase our band and our music style and so forth. I'm always trying to move forward with that. So I'm not really interested in repeating something we've done in the past. However, there is certain, I was certainly influenced and inspired by playing Symbol in its entirety. So I think in that way, it was a way for me to kind of look at it in a fresher way. And that I think helped maybe the general sort of broad stroke.
I think, on a subconscious level, you will sort of think, right, if I have to play this thing in full 20 years from now, I think that's what I was getting at. It was just taking the live show. And I think as well, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's true that it did rub off on us in a positive way, and like I said, it wasn't really super conscious, but I think in a subconscious way, it was really there.
Yeah, because every band's first album is already kind of tested on an audience, isn't it? You're recording everything. Every song is played, and then you tweak it according to the reaction, and that's when you record that first album, and you're on to a winner. But every album, it's inevitable. The fifth, the sixth, whatever album, you kind of have to create it in the studio, and then we hope this works. It's that first night when you're playing those songs live, you're kind of the last to find out whether it worked or not. But
yeah. So it's all good. We were happy with the way it all played out, and then making Punching in the Sky was a whole nother great experience. And largely we have to thank doing Symbol for that.
Well, let's talk about Punch in the Sky, because it's been such a weird year for us all.
Yeah.
It's kind of what wasn't that long ago feels like a long time ago. And it wasn't only last year that you yourself put 2 albums out. You put out Punch in the Sky of Armored Saint and Long Day Good Night with Faint's Warning, the and you did a double album as well. So you've been super busy. Plus, your production work and
Yeah. Yeah, I've been lucky that I had things to do. Aside from not being able to tour, which is a drag, but hopefully that's going to change soon.
yeah. So with Punch in the Sky, I mean, I thought it was just a great addition to a great catalog. Really, I mean, I think with following up from Win Hands Down, it seemed like Armored Saint become like a full-time. But when did Armored Saint really become full-time again, so to speak?
Well,
Because you did Revelation, but then 10 years later there was La Raza. Then 5 years.
yeah.
Was it?
Well, the last two records have been 5 years apart, so it's, I guess that's full time for us.
In today's standards, 5 years is nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we just never wanted to fall into, we kind of never wanted it to fall into a situation where it was something that had to be done every couple of years, and we had to maintain a certain amount of output and touring and that kind of thing. We still, honestly, still work in the way where we sort of still approach it like we do things when we choose to, when we feel like we want to, not like we don't feel like we have to do anything. So in a sense, we still are treating this as a sort of a side thing, but so we're not really considering ourselves a full-time, all or nothing band. I mean, we still have other interests. I'm involved with Fate's Warning, and I made another record with Motor Sister, which is another band on Metal Blade that I'm in, and that record's coming out next year. So there's other things that I'm still doing, me personally, and Jeff has his solo thing with DC4.
I remember Motor Sister. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
good record, and it's good to know there's something coming out with that as well.
Yeah. There's a new record coming out. So, but Armored Saint is something that we all hold dear to ourselves, and we want to give it, we want to tour for this record. We're super proud of Punch in the Sky, and we think we made an amazing record, and we want to just keep working for that. It's just that COVID's got other ideas at the moment, and so we're just trying to stay busy with other things, and when the time comes, we'll get out there and do some stuff. I don't remember if I mentioned or not, but we have some touring that we're doing at the end of this year with Black Label Society here in the United States. It's a very short run, but it's something. And then we have some plans for 22 that I can't really talk about yet. And so things are moving. They're just not moving as quickly as we would all like. And it's going to happen when it's going to happen. And
just waiting for the momentum to
exactly.
Get going. Yeah.
Yep.
Another sort of twist of fate, excuse the pun, is you managed to land a gig playing bass in Merciful Fate.
Well, yeah.
How did that come about? I think I can draw the dots, but for the sake of the interview,
played yet, but because again, they had dates that were supposedly supposed to happen 2 summers ago, and they keep getting pushed. But they're doing some dates again. Their summer dates got moved until summer of 22, and with any luck, they'll happen. But I was approached by basically King Diamond came out to see Fate's Warning several years ago, and he came to one of our shows and came backstage, and we were talking, and he pulled me aside and he told me about the situation that was going on with the band, and in particular Tim, who was at the time going through chemotherapy, and I wasn't really privy to all that info, and he told me about what was going on, but he asked me if I would be interested in helping them out and do the dates if Tim wasn't able to do it physically. And so I was like pretty floored by that. I was super honored that he asked me to do that. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, I
What
would.
was you supposed to say? No.
It's a great honor. And, I was like, yeah, well, yes, of course, and now in the back of my mind, I was kind of thinking like, oh, this is just too surreal. It's not going to happen, and Tim's going to pull through and they'll be fine. But just in case, if he can't do it, if he's unable to tour or something, I will gladly step up and do this. So I accepted the offer and, almost forgot about it for a couple of months, and then a few months go by, and unfortunately, the news came that Tim wasn't going to make it.
Yeah,
so
terrible news. Yeah.
Kind of. Sorry, hold on one sec. Are you still there?
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
So
That's fine.
I actually have another interview right behind us.
That's fine. We'll wrap up soon. I've got the timer anyway. I know we only had a.
Real quick to summarize it, I was devastated by the news. First of all, I mean, it was such a sad thing. I was hoping that Tim would pull through. He's an awesome guy. I met him many years ago. He's a sweetheart and an amazing bass player. And now I'm sort of like I was faced with like, okay, this is going to actually happen. So I had to change my frame of mind and like, okay, like pull up your bootstraps, you're going to do this. So I have a lot of responsibility to the fans, to do right by Timmy and try to, go out and make these shows great with the band. I'm super stoked about it. It's going to be amazing. And I'm honored. And, I was a fan from way back, ever since the Nuns Have No Fun. And I'm super stoked. I'm in the middle of doing my homework, actually. Again, I'm starting to brush up on all the songs now. So with any luck, that'll happen. And the tours should be amazing. It's a bunch of festivals in Europe and one show in the States, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. And it should be amazing.
I would ask you, do you know anything about the prospect of a new Merciful Fate album? But I'm guessing you probably wouldn't be allowed to tell me anyway.
Well, I think it's common knowledge out there that they've been writing.
Yeah.
I don't know anything more than that, really. I mean, I have heard a few things, but only in demo form, nothing with vocals even. But the riffs are amazing as always, and but that's as far as I know. I don't know how far along they are or when they project to try to do that, but I think that they're intending to make another record.
And
I think they are.
The prospect of you being on it?
That's a possibility. I mean, that's nothing set.
Fingers and toes crossed. Is it?
Yeah. And again, I'd be honored if I would end up being on it. So I hope so. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll let you get on to your next interview. Joey, as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on. In the meantime, folks, check out Punch in the Sky. And on October 22nd, was he gone? He's gone. Oh, no. October 22nd, check out Symbol of Salvation live. You can get it as a DVD and CD package. It's on vinyl, download, and I'll be doing a review when it comes out. So, Joey, thank you and take care.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All the best. Take care. Thank you.